Random thoughts. In this video, I'm going to bring up an issue that Sir Charles Elliot discusses in his book, The East Africa Protectorate, about the Akamba and the Maasai and their land conflicts. Now, Sir Charles Elliot was the Commissioner of British East Africa. He was like the topmost British official on the land that was then known as the East Africa Protectorate, and this is the land that later on came to be known as Kenya. Now, Sir Charles Elliot served in that office from 1902 to 1904 when he resigned, and then in 1905 he publishes this book. This is a very comprehensive book. It discusses many things about the land, the geography, the people, the climate, the potential of the land, the politics, the people, the relationship between different groups of people, and things like that. Now, there is a part in the book where he talks about the Akamba people, and he discusses the land that the Akamba people own. And I found it interesting that he mentions that a large part of the land that the Wakamba had settled on was actually, or used to be, a Maasai land, but then the Akamba drove out the Maasai and occupied the land. Mostly the land around Machakos, he mentions that. Now, that's interesting because that again proves that the people who were called the Ma people, the Maasai, occupied a very large area of the land we know today as Kenya. I would say they occupied maybe 2/3 of the land actually before they were moved out by other groups, and then they were moved into specific of the places we see them today. And of course, the British did also play a huge role in moving them out on some parts of the country. There is even a story of the people, or the Ma-speaking people, being moved from Uasin Gishu today, the Uasin Gishu County, and they were moved to Narok. That happened during the British, the colonial times. And of course, we can talk of the Laikipia. Those lands were taken away from the Maasai, and of course, the Maasai never got it back. So let me read the part where he talks about that. He says, "The Wakamba are one of the largest and most important tribes of East Africa and inhabit the basin of the Athi River for some distance on each side. They are found as far east as the neighborhood of Rabai. According to one theory, they came to their present territory from the south. They have been influenced by the Maasai, though not so strongly as Kikuyu. Their country is divided into 3 districts, Kikumbulio in the south being the sparsely populated jungle with occasional hills about Makindu, Kibwezi, Masongaleni, and the Ulu Hills, and Machakos in the center and Kitui to the north, both latter districts being rather fairly populous. It is said that within the memory of man, the Maasai occupied much of the land about Machakos, but were driven out by the Wakamba after severe struggle. In most parts of Ulu and Kikambulio, the villages are still built on the hills, and the plains left uncultivated owing to the fear of Maasai raids, which were very real danger until a few years ago. The Wakamba do not now appear to be a warlike race, though the inhabitants of Mumoni and some parts of Kitui are said to be more energetic than the other sections. As a tribe, they seem inferior both in figure and intelligence to the Kikuyu people, and drunkenness is terribly prevalent among the older men. They have no political system, no considerable chiefs, at least in the better-known parts of the country." Now, of course, I don't agree with some of the things he says. He talks about them not having a government or political organization. The Akamba were a republic like many other people in Kenya. Then their political organization was Republican. But because Sir Charles Elliot came from a monarchy, they could not recognize republics. They trashed them. They did not think of them, or they did not give them much thought. The people were organized in that Republican way, and they existed that way for many years. That's how they even managed, for example, to organize for wars, to have a militaries, because there was a political organization. It's just that Sir Charles Elliot could not recognize it, because Sir Charles Elliot came from a monarchy, and to him, political organization meant that there is that one person at the top who makes all the decisions and everybody else falls under them. He could not come to the terms with the fact that Africans organize themselves in republicans ways, such that there was no one person who had all the say, but power was distributed, and there were these senates, which of course the British called the Council of Elders, I call them senates, where decisions were made. And these senates were from the village, and sometimes up to the entire nation would have a senate where elders would go and discuss and make decisions about the affairs that affected their nation. Those are my random thoughts.